A lot of people are still working on creating and affixing their rivulet weapons. If you've already finished working on your rivulet weapon, you may be interested in preparing for your next upgrade. For example, I currently have the rivulet soaring blades, but I don't really care for my current trailblazer wand, and I would like to upgrade it. The next weapon series that we may see added to the game is the Purist series, as well as the Stil series, which is what the Purist upgrades into. I'm going to go over some of the things I'm going to need to make these weapons, and then point out what I can work on now versus what I should wait to work on later. A lot of the information I'm going to go off of for this is based off the JP release of the game, so there's always a chance that some of the materials may change for getting these weapons. For the Purist weapon, you're going to need 3 different weapons, as well as 2 Luminec grain crystals, 200 Luminec fragments, 200 pure photons, and 20 ultimate boosters. Currently, the Luminec fragments are only obtainable in the mission pass, but we will be able to obtain more of these from Divide quests once they're released. The grain crystals are also things that we're going to be able to obtain from Divide quests. So for now, these 2 materials can be set aside for once Divide quests are released. Pure photons and ultimate boosters are actually obtainable right now though. Once Divide quests are released, we're actually going to have more ways of obtaining these as well. Ultimate boosters are already being farmed heavily right now for the rivulet weapons, so most people already know a bunch of ways of farming these. If you wanted to farm them right now, I would recommend joining people for the VR mining base triggers, because a lot of people are running those right now and have gotten a lot better at succeeding at them. Now, what I actually want to point out is I don't actually believe we need to prepare too much with these materials. This is because if I look at the titles for Divide quests, you'll see that we get 100 pure photons when we reach 25 million total points, as well as another 100 pure photons when we reach 250,000 weekly points. You're going to get the reward from the weekly points before you get the total points, so that's already 100 pure photons right there. So as long as you have 100 pure photons ready, you should be able to get the other 100 from this title. We'll also see that we can get 20 ultimate boosters from reaching step 20 of the Divide quest. 20 ultimate boosters is all we need for our weapons, so we can also set aside ultimate boosters for later as well. So after looking into this, it doesn't really seem like we have to worry too much about gathering materials right now, since all of the materials that we're going to need for the Purist and Stil weapons can be obtained while we're farming Divide quests for the materials that are specific to the Divide quests. So the only things we really need to prepare right now are the weapons we need to exchange. The weapons that you're going to need for the exchange are going to be dependent on which weapon you're making though. I'm going to go over what I need for my wand, but if you're making a different weapon you may want to do some research yourself, because not all these weapons have the same process. The first weapon that I'm going to need is the dim weapon. The dim weapon is what all the Purist weapons are going to need. And if you're going to do at least one thing to prepare for this weapon series, I would recommend getting a dim weapon up to 8 slots. The dim weapons are currently dropping from a few ultra hard quests, including Armada, but you also need to make sure that your dim weapon is the correct weapon category for the weapon that you're making. On the JP release of the game, you cannot change the Purist or Stil weapon series, so I would not rely on getting any dim weapon to 8 slots. Instead, you should make sure that you have the correct weapon category for your dim weapon. I'm personally just going to buy an 8-slot dim wand, but really you have the choice of either farming for this weapon, buying it from the personal shop, or upslotting an existing one to 8 slots. The other 2 weapons depend on which weapon you're making. Many of the Purist weapons require an Orb series weapon. Since I'm making a wand, I'm actually going to need an Orb wand. These orb weapons can actually be obtained through the collection folder right now. If you use this method, you're going to need 6 of the same orb weapon to increase your cap to 35. You also have the option of farming these from the ultra hard quests. Right now, if we look at the 4th recommended quest, Disturbing Whistle of Chaos, you'll see that it actually drops orb weapons. However, I wouldn't recommend trying to farm this weapon, seeing as you would have to get lucky enough to get the orb drop, as well as be lucky enough to get the correct orb drop. I'm going for the collection folder weapon, and I already have 4 of the orb weapons that I need. If your weapon requires an orb weapon, I would recommend working on the collection folder for the orb weapon that you need as soon as possible in order to take advantage of the time we have before these weapons are released. In case you didn't know, you can also refresh the cooldown time for the collection folder using star gems. So if you're not able to get all 6 weapons before the release of these weapons, you can potentially use star gems to finish it off quickly. However, I don't believe you're going to need to do this either, seeing as you're going to need to farm the Divide quests anyway for the rest of the materials, so you will have more time to work on these orb weapons. Now, if we click on the other weapon that I'm going to need for my wand, you'll see that I can actually farm for this right now through ship infiltration. However, you'll also see here that we have the option of exchanging for it later on, so I'm probably going to save this weapon for later when we have a way of exchanging for it. So in my case, in order to prepare for this weapon, I've decided to make sure that I have 100 pure photons ready, one 8-slot dim wand ready, as well as one plus 35 orb wand ready. I will farm the rest of the materials for the Puras and Stil weapons from Divine Quests once they're released, and I'm going to save the last weapon that I need for later once there's better ways of obtaining it. Depending on which weapon you're making, your circumstances may be different, but hopefully showing you what I'm preparing to do for my weapon will help you get started as well. That's all for now, but if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.